Charger cannon. Come on, charge. Yeah, here it comes. You're gonna get blasted now.
Give me your soul.
Execute.
Oh, my internet. Oh, my internet. Oh, God.
Tails. Outcome memories. If you don't know what that means, strap in because we're about to dive deep into the latest update. Is Tails still viable? The short answer, no. Honestly, he's never been the meta pick for your average survivor. But the long answer, Tails might actually be the strongest character in the game right now. Sounds like a paradox, right? By the end of this video, you'll see exactly why the fox is back on top. Welcome to Tails Nexus, the only place on the internet dedicated to every piece of media featuring everyone's favorite two-tailed fox. Today, we're talking about Outcome Memories. If you haven't played it, it's a high-stakes asymmetrical horror game on Roblox, and you can jump in right now. The premise is simple. You and 6 other survivors are hunted by a single executioner from the Sonic.exe universe. Now, we all know the drill with the .exe fandom. Usually, it's just a playground for finding new, brutal ways to torture the golden boy. But for me, and all the other Tails mains watching, we're here to put an end to the mindless fox bloodshed. In this game, the fox fights back. As of version 0.2, the roster has expanded. We've got everyone from Sonic and Knuckles to Blaze and even Eggman. Every character has a role, a kit, and a reason to survive the hunt. But let's be real, you didn't click on a channel called Tails Nexus to hear about Silver or Amy. We're here for one reason. We're looking at the kit, the buffs, and the strategy that turns the weakest survivor into the executioner's worst nightmare. Let's talk about Tails. Miles Tails Prower, a fox with 2 tails, a lot of trauma, and a desperate need to stay as far away from the executioner as possible. To do that, he's equipped with a laser cannon and the vertical mobility needed to navigate a 3D environment. But before we get into the gameplay, I need to go nerd mode for a second. That laser cannon? It's not a laser. Light doesn't behave like that. It doesn't have mass, and it certainly doesn't glow that specific shade of yellow. What we're actually looking at is a high-density plasma ejector, specifically firing sodium vapor in a plasma state. The proof is in the physics. The yellow is the signature emission of sodium vapor, and executioners are left steaming after a hit, confirming a superheated thermal transfer. And light doesn't really have momentum, but this beam carries massive kinetic energy, physically shoving the executioner back. Basically, Tails isn't just pointing a flashlight at demons, he's hitting them with a concentrated blast of superheated matter. Anyway, nerd rant over. Let's talk numbers. In-game, this cannon is a beast, but you have to respect its cooldown. That 45-second wait is brutal, but the payoff is a total of 7 seconds of stun and displacement. Plus, it has unlimited range. If you can see them, you can hit them.
Sorry about that, I don't know. Right now, they're kind of just... Right now, they're being forgotten.
My hopes and dreams right now really fucking get crushed.
Oh my god! Oh! However, there's a massive catch. While you're charging and firing, your movement speed tank. You're essentially a sitting duck. If you try to pull this off mid-chase without a plan, you're not defending yourself, you're just making it easier for them to catch you. Using the cannon effectively is all about positioning and timing. Now, let's look at his second tool, the glide. Activating this gives you 10 seconds of total 3D movement, where you get 8 seconds of unrestricted flight, followed by a 2-second exhaustion period where you begin a slow descent. Once that 10-second timer hits 0, the ability kills over completely, and if you're still high in the air, you're gonna sink like a rock. Most players underestimate this because, let's face it, every executioner has an answer for it. 2011X can just charge you midair, Colossus can just scale the walls to meet you at your level, and Tripwire has that hit scan laser of doom and despair. If she clips you, it's game over. So why use it at all? Because it's not about movement, it's about ability investment. The biggest mistake Tails players make is using the glide as a last resort. If you're already cornered and low on health, flying won't save you. You need to use glide as your first resort. If you take to disguise the moment a chase starts, you force the executioner to make a choice. Do I spend 10 to 15 seconds burning my abilities and platforming just to reach one fox? Or do I go find an easier target? Most of the time, they won't bother. You're simply too much work. And even if they do commit to the hunt, your glide acts as a loud, visual SOS. You're essentially broadcasting to the map, hey, I'm being chased and I am not viable in this situation. This gives the Sonic or Knuckles players on your team the cue to swoop in and peel you out or beat the executioner to a living pulp, because no one can break apart Team Sonic so easily. But here is the icing on the cake. If you are attacked within the first 5 seconds of activating your glide, the ability is cancelled, but it does not go on cooldown. I'm honestly not sure if this is a bug or a very generous feature, but it means if they knock you down early, you can just pop it again and keep moving. It's a get out of jail free card that most players don't even realize they have. So if he has all of this, why does the community rank him so low? If you look at any tier list of outcome memories, you usually find Tails sitting at the very bottom. The consensus is that Tails is simply too weak and lacks versatility. People look at Sonic's raw speed, Amy's utility cards, or Knuckles' punch, which is basically one move with 5 different uses. 5! And then they look at Tails. To them, he's a one-trick pony. They see that gross 45-second cannon cooldown and argue that if you aren't on a wide-open map, you're a liability. And to be fair, they have a point. Tails has the shortest base jump height in the entire game. He's slow on his speed as well. Even Cream can out-jump him. When people see a Tails pick in the lobby, they don't see a teammate, they see fodder. They think you're there just to be an easy kill and add more time to the executioner's clock. The reality, however, it's the exact opposite. You see, the secret to mastering the game is simple. To be good at Sonic, you have to think and play like Sonic. To excel as Knuckles or Metal Sonic, you have to adopt their mindset. But for some reason, people pick Tails and forget who he is. Of course he isn't going to win a toe-to-toe brawl with the Executioner, he was never meant to. If you're playing Tails like a frontline bruiser, you've already lost. But while Tails might not outrun a god or outmuscle a monster, he can damn well outthink them. His biggest strength isn't his base speed or his jump height, it's his ability to control the engagement from the shadows. Tails isn't a victim, he's the smartest person in the room, and in an asymmetrical horror game, brains will beat brawn every single time. Remember that cannon I was talking about? I forgot to mention something about it. There's a lot of nuance to it. In fact, there's a secret most players completely overlook. The cannon can shoot through walls! Whether this is a bug or a feature is anyone's guess, but it's been a staple of Tails' gameplay since version 0.1. Here's how you pull off the phantom shot. If you press yourself against a pillar or a wall, you can angle your camera to peer down the hallway. By hitting the control key, you can disable the mouse autolock and gain manual aim. The beam will always travel exactly where your cursor is pointing, even if there's a solid object or an invisible barrier in the way. Yep, it's that broken. This tech turns Scales into a ghost. You can charge, fire, and stun the Executioner from complete safety without ever being detected. It is quite literally a Tails main's dream come true. But even if you do get cornered, even if your lack of versatility catches up to you, Tails has one more trick up his sleeve that tier lists never mention: his iframes. The moment you fire that cannon, you gain roughly 1 to 2 seconds of total immunity. This turns your main weapon into a high-skill parry mechanic. Colossus charging? Meh. 2011X going in for the kill with a charge? Get that bum out of here. Tripwire using reach out? Go reach out for a tissue after you take high-powered plasma directly to your fake doll face. You aren't just the Fox, you're the only survivor who can stare down a creepypasta god, blast him in the face with superheated sodium, and fly away without a scratch. That is why Tails isn't just viable, he's the strongest survivor in the game. But wait, the complexity goes even deeper. We've talked about the 45-second cooldown if you fire the cannon, but what if you don't? One of the most underutilized tools in Tails' kit is the cannon cancel. If you're charging your beam and realize the Executioner is expecting the stun, maybe they're baiting out your shot or preparing to parry you, or preparing to go invisible before you can even hit them, you can simply cancel the charge. Instead of being hit with that massive 45-second penalty, you're only put on a short 15-second cooldown. This is huge for psychological warfare. You can start the charge to force the executioner to back off or burn their own defensive move, cancel it, and then just run while they're stuck in their own animation. You successfully wasted their time and kept 30 seconds off your cooldown for the next encounter. Not to mention, this is especially helpful against 2011X because of his rage mechanic. Your cannon is going to give that executioner a lot of rage meter that he can then use to slaughter all of you later on. Being able to cancel that cannon means you've probably just wasted 2011X's biggest ability to try and force you to stun him by just running away. But wait, there is even more nuance to Tails' kit, and that is with his glide. This piece of nuance that separates the casual players from the true Tails mains. It's all about the cancel. You remember that 5-second window I mentioned? The one where being attacked refreshes your ability? That 5-second timer is actually the cancel cooldown, and knowing how to use it is the difference between life and death. If you let the glide run its full course, you're slapped with a massive 35-second cooldown. In a high-speed chase, 35 seconds is an eternity. It gives the executioner every reason to hunt you down because they know you're defenseless. However, the glide actually has a base cooldown of only 25 seconds. If you manually cancel the glide by pressing the ability button again after that 5-second window passes, you shave a full 10 seconds off your wait time. Think about that. Being proactive and canceling your flight instead of letting it expire, you can take to the skies every 25 seconds. At that rate, you aren't just a survivor, you're practically untouchable. It turns Tails into a constant aerial threat the executioner simply cannot keep up with. Between the glide cancel and the cannon cancel, Tails isn't just a one-trick pony, he's a character built entirely around resource manipulation. Beyond the active kit, Tails brings two unique passives to the table that completely change his role on the team. First, he's a walking radar. Tails can detect any executioner within 45 studs, highlighting them through walls, and yes, that even includes stealth abilities like 2011X's invisibility. However, this is actually a double-edged sword. The reason being is that you don't want to be that close to an executioner. 45 studs is being within murder distance. Not to mention, this detection is a bit of a downgrade during the God's Trickery minigame from 2011X. The executioner highlight actually overrides the trickery highlight, turning a skill-based minigame into a total gamble. Personally, I think this needs a rework. If it were an active ability with a 4 to 6 second duration of detecting the EXE's location globally and a 35-second cooldown, it would keep that Fox Sense flavor without being an active detriment, but for now, you just have to be aware of the visual clutter. Then we have his synergy with Metal Sonic. Tails can repair metal at a rate of 1 tick per second, doubling the speed of metal on his own. This is a massive win-win. Tails wants to stay out of the danger zone, which is exactly where a damaged Metal Sonic needs to be to recover. And once Metal is back online, Tails has an immediate tank ready to beat the living crap out of any executioner that dares to go to that noise. Think about the math. Metal Sonic needs 10 full healing ticks to finish a cycle. Remember that 7-second stun we talked about? If Tails lands a full blast, that is 7 free ticks of healing right then and there. Compare that to Eggman's shield, which only stuns for half a second. Sure, Eggman heals 25% faster than Tails, but Tails provides the safety and the time to actually get the job done. In the current meta, Tails isn't just a survivor, he is Metal Sonic's best friend. So, if he isn't a runner, and he isn't fodder, how is Tails actually supposed to be played? Personally, I categorize Tails as a savior stunner. Think of yourself as the team's guardian angel, the only thing standing between an executioner's kill animation and your teammate getting off scot-free. That 45-second cannon cooldown, it's not a burden, it's a massive flashing red indicator telling you to respect the tool. In a game where every second determines whether you live or die, a 7-second stun is an absolute eternity. If you use it off cooldown just to poke the executioner for fun, you're wasting the most powerful defensive tool in the game. But if you wait, if you hold that shot until the exact moment your Sonic or Blaze is about to be cornered, or if your Knuckles absolutely fumbles the counter in 4K and everyone's pointing and laughing at him, you've just gifted them enough distance to cross half the map without taking a single bit of damage. Who's laughing now, Colossus? Who's laughing now? You have to be disciplined. You have to be comfortable doing nothing for a minute if it means having that shot ready when the stakes are highest. A bad Tails player fires as soon as they see the executioner. A great Tails player fires only when they see an opening to save a life. You aren't just looking for stuns, you're looking for impact. You are the insurance policy for the team. When you're on the field, the execution doesn't just have to worry about the person they're chasing, they have to worry about the fox they can't see, waiting in the rafters for the high-density plasma ejector that can shut down their hunt in a single click. That is the savior stunner mindset. You aren't playing for your own survival, you're playing so that everyone survives. Now, I've spent this whole video praising and glazing the fox, but I have to be real with you guys. It's not all amber fur and glory. My biggest gripes with Tails in this current state come down to two things. First, he is buggy. Between the detection highlight messing up your minigames and the weirdness with the glide cancels, you're constantly fighting the game's code as much as you're fighting the executioner. But the bigger issue? His playstyle can be, honestly, boring. There, I said it. As a savior stunner, you spend a lot of time waiting. You're watching, you're positioning, and you're managing cooldowns. I've found myself playing Tails for a solid hour, playing perfectly and winning games, only to switch to Sonic for one match and realize, oh right, I should have been playing Sonic this whole time. There's a visceral thrill to the chase that Tails just doesn't get. You don't get the adrenaline of a high-speed escape or the flashy outplay that a Knuckles or Blaze gets. You're the tactical mastermind in the back. And while that wins games, it doesn't always feel like you're playing the game in the same way everyone else is. So, if you're looking for high-octane, heart-pounding action, you're on the wrong character. But if you want to be the reason the executioner loses their mind, then you stay on the Fox. Don't just take my word for it either. I'll show you the reason as to why Tails is so strong in the current state. Naturally cutting out the parts where I'm waiting like I'm at a bank queue. Everything we've talked about so far assumes you have a team to protect. But what happens when the team is gone? What happens when it's just you and the executioner left in the dark? Most survivors crumble in a last man standing scenario. But for Tails, the game doesn't just change, it breaks. Tails has arguably the strongest LMS in the history of the game. That 45-second cooldown on the cannon, it vanishes. In LMS, the cooldown drops by 30 full seconds, bringing it down to just 15. That's not even the scary part. The windup, the time it takes to charge that sodium plasma, drops from 6 seconds to 1. This isn't the moment the golden boy starts playing nice. He isn't being careful with his death cannon anymore. He is desperate, he is dangerous, and he is firing with zero regard for the risk. Think about the math. If the executioner is effectively incapacitated for roughly 7 seconds and your cooldown is only 15, you're looking at a 9-second window where the executioner is actually allowed to move before you can blast them again. But wait, it gets even worse for the executioner. Remember that 9-second window where they are actually allowed to move? A smart Tails player isn't just standing there waiting. The moment that cannon finishes firing, you use your glide to reset your positioning. You take to the skies, gaining massive verticality, and then you start charging the cannon again while you're falling because the windup is only 1 second in LMS. You can effectively air snipe them before your feet even touch the ground. You stun them, you land, you reposition, and by the time they can even process what happened, your 15-second cooldown is already over. You have created a near infinite loop of displacement and flight. It's not just a survival strategy, it's a psychological breakdown of the executioner's kit. They literally cannot reach you, they cannot catch you, and they certainly cannot kill you. 9 seconds of freedom, that's all they get. And even in those 9 seconds, they're staring up at a fox in the sky who is already charging his next shot. How is that fair? It's not. It's never been fair. The truth is, executioners, the game was rigged from the start. So, at the end of the day, is Tails still viable? If you're looking for high-octane chases and flashy speed, the answer is no. Stick to Sonic. But if you want to be the smartest player in the lobby, the savior stunner who saves the match and makes the executioner want to delete the game, then Tails is the only choice. He might be buggy, and his playstyle might feel like waiting in a bank queue sometimes, but when that last man standing kicks in and the 9-second loop begins, you realize that the tier lists were wrong. The community was wrong. Tails isn't just viable, he's the strongest survivor in our memories. It's time to stop treating the golden boy like fodder and start treating him like the threat he really is. Thanks for watching this deep dive here in Tails Nexus. If you found a new way to break the game with the fox, or if you've pulled off that LMS loop, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated on everything involving our favorite twin-tailed genius. And if you want to see me do a lore breakdown on Tails and Outcome Memories, which by the way, there's quite a lot ever since the drop of the No Way Back video, then you should also let me know in the comments below. I would love to do a deep dive onto his lore, but I want to know what you guys think. But anyway, until next time, keep flying high.